I'm Yisrael Schwartz, and I'm
I'm
here.
Yisrael Chai.
That's also true. I've had people say that. I'm actually Yisrael Mordechai, so that almost goes with that. And I'm excited to have this podcast with you, Dovid. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I think we need to ignite Klal Yisrael's passion for wanting to live in Hashem's land, and I think it's our duty to speak about it
Why?
because I'm not sure how many people are even talking about it in America in the way it should be talked about.
How should it be taught?
That's a good question. Well, like I wanted to tell you, and you know this a little bit about me. I grew up in Toronto in Canada, and my parents took me to Israel when I was 11 years old. And at 11, I was excited for the first maybe week to move to a new country, and then it became very, very difficult for me to adjust. And it was actually torturous. I went through a lot of trauma, and I never thought I would want to live there again. I had a hard time with Israelis, the bureaucracy, the way they treated people, their attitude, the aggression, just the whole country. It felt like a really tough thing to be living in. I was like, why am I here? Why did my parents do this to me? Why do they hate me so much that they want me to be going through this? What did I possibly do wrong? And after 4 years, I convinced my dad to basically send me off 6,000 miles away. And I finished high school here in different yeshivas here. And I basically have never really lived in Israel again since then, aside from going to yeshiva for a year after high school. I tried it for 3 months and it was hard. It was really hard. It reminded me of all that trauma. And yet here I am sitting here with you, Dovid, today, telling you that there is nothing that I feel that Hashem wants from me more than for me to pick up with my family and live in his land, in our land, and be a people that is part of the country of Israel, not the nation or the religion, but I feel like it all goes together. It's all one.
Yisrael, first of all, before we get into generally the ideas of Eretz Yisrael and the Shkafa, just on a personal level, I think it's very extraordinary what you're saying. I know the most difficult people to speak about Eretz Yisrael with are the people who went when they were younger and they experienced what you experienced and they had trauma. Those are the most difficult people to have a conversation with about Eretz Yisrael. And here you are, even though you had that trauma, even though you have all those associations with Eretz Yisrael, yet here you are, passionate about Eretz Yisrael, and I think that's very extraordinary.
Sometimes I can't really believe it about myself either, because if I really honestly focus in on the challenges that I had, it's hard for me to imagine going through that again. I remember vividly being mocked, made fun of by Israelis because I couldn't fit in. I remember feeling like these Israelis are so aggressive. I never want to become like them. I don't want to sound like them. I don't ever want to speak like them. I don't want to dress like them. I felt very much like an outsider. And I didn't feel like there was a place for me in this country. I felt like this is where if you grow up here and you just deal with the country and you're rough around the edges, then you could adjust, then that's how you are. But here I am coming from a very, not even American, Canadian. Canadians are like very soft people. Pardon me. They don't really have that rough around the edges kind of attitude that even American might have. And I'm trying to adjust with my family in this country and I can't. And now here I am today where I feel that after learning everything that I've learned and being a part of the Jewish people and thinking about where we are in history and what's going on in the world and the amount of almost miracles happening around us, where I feel like Hashem is sending messages to every one of us to understand in that and realize that we are living in a time where Hashem is giving us the ability to make a choice. And even if it's a hard choice and if it's a difficult choice, right, we have the ability to make that choice. Imagine the best example, I told my dad about this. My father's very passionate about Israel, as you know, and we could talk about that another time.
Sure.
But the person who is dealing with his own issues, but realizes that in order to move forward in his life, he needs to be married, he needs to have a wife, he needs to have a new stage, a new level, is going to recognize that there's going to be challenges that comes with that. Anyone who's married for more than a short period of time knows that it's very hard to make a marriage work. And it requires a lot of effort, requires a lot of understanding, requires a lot of stuff that some people might just give up and not stay married. But anyone who's been married for a long time knows that when you put in the effort and you do what it takes, the reward is incredible. And Hashem wants people to have marriages and families and children, right? A person could say, listen, it's really hard to be married. I can't even imagine doing it. It could be traumatic for me based on whatever, maybe something that a person sees, a parent's marriage that is terrible. And they could say, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Why should I put myself through this? I could be single. I could have a great job. I could have a great house. I could do a lot of mitzvahs. Why should I put myself through that pain and that challenge? What is it in for me?
Okay, so I understand what you're saying. You're saying that even though moving to Eretz Yisrael may be challenging, but just like a marriage, it's challenging, but it's a worthwhile endeavor, of course, because we know in order to be whole, we need to be married. In order to start family, we need to be married. Same thing with Eretz Yisrael. So maybe we could drill down a little bit. So what is it about Eretz Yisrael that it makes it so important, that's worthwhile going through these challenges, and not just for ourselves, for our families as well? Like, what is it about Eretz Yisrael that is so meaningful to you, is so important to you, so central to you, that you believe it's worth going through all those challenges in order to live there? We could live here just fine. Like, we have Torah, we have schools, we have education, we have chinuch, we have communities, we have organizations, we have everything we need here. Why is that so important to you?
Dovid, that's an amazing question. That's a very hard question to answer. And the thought that comes to my mind when I'm looking at you asking me this question is I realized that if I were to put to you the question of why is it so hard, and why are there so many Jews here in America that don't want to move or that are struggling with that concept, in my opinion, I think that answers the question. Okay, so here's what I'll tell you, David. Having lived there and living here now, in my opinion, and it's hard, people I don't think are as honest with themselves as they'd like to be. And this might not be true for everybody else. But in my opinion, the main reasons that I'm choosing to be here are coming from, we'll call the word gashmius, or materialistic reasons. Right? There's a lot of comfort here. There's a lot of ease in life. There's a lot more ways to make more money and to have a nicer car and to have a nicer house, and even to have schools that are a little more accommodating, maybe. And you have access to things that you don't have access to there. So I think, number one, a lot of the reason that people might, I'm not saying for sure, but a lot of people might be feeling like it's hard to move is because they are in a certain state a little bit spoiled by life over here. Now, I'm not going to say that's not a true thing that a person has to realize, because once they've lived here their whole life, they've gotten used to certain things and they almost feel like they can't get used to other lifestyles. So that I want to get that out of the way.
But before we get there, let's talk about the reasons why a person should consider that, because all things being equal, let's just stay where we are. Like, why rock the boat?
No, that was the next stage that I was going to get to. So if we put that aside, let's just say, okay.
So on that point, once we're at that, once we're there, I could just tell you, I've been having a lot of conversations with people about this topic, about Aliya. And the reasons that most people give for staying are not because of the luxuries we have here. Like, there are some very serious concerns that people have that are related to a person's spiritual well-being and connection to the Rebbeinu Shalom. Like, for example, chinuch. Like, if my children are learning well in the schools here, and I'm going to bring them to Eretz Yisrael, like, you know firsthand what that's like.
Right. So now I was going to get to, David, I was going to get to that. And I wanted to say, either I'm speaking to someone who completely is honest with themselves, because I don't know how many people realize about moving there, how many things that they're going to lose that they're not used to. You can't order something from Amazon and get it the next day. You cannot, drive the same type of cars or lease the same type of cars or live in the same size house or have this almost anything in terms of certain luxuries that you're going to be used to. You probably are going to be more limited. You're not going to have access to all the same things at the tip of your fingers that you are here. But let's assume you're either someone that doesn't care for those things and it doesn't bother you, could adjust right away, or you're a person that maybe could live as close as a lifestyle in Israel as you can to here through however you are, whatever it is. Let's even the playing field. So I wanted to get that away because I personally know that myself and maybe others might be fooling themselves by using the other things to kind of justify why we enjoy a certain lifestyle here, which maybe isn't necessarily what Hashem wants us to be doing in this world, which is not such always a good thing, to be so caught up in the materialistic values of an American society. So I was going to suggest that by moving there, maybe it's a good thing to shed that if you're able to and ready to. And then what I think, and again, I don't know for sure, but I look at Israel as something that Hashem has prepared for us and has said, I've created a country where we could be one as a nation, where we're meant to flourish in. As Jewish people, it is a more spiritual oriented country. Now, that's not to say, you have to be in tune to be able to totally grasp what that means. But in order for us as a nation to accomplish everything that we need to, right? We're waiting for Mashiach. We're waiting for the Beis HaMikdash. All that stuff talks about not happening here. We're not going to stay here forever. We're not going to live here. Mashiach's not going to come, and we're going to live here now. There's a reason why. Why can't Mashiach come, and why can't we build the Beis HaMikdash in New York? That's just not the reality. Hashem has told us that the place for his nation to be able to influence the world and to be able to grow together with each other in a spiritual way has a country prepared for it. It's already there. It's not a made-up place that's in a fairy tale that's Atlantis at the bottom of the sea that maybe will float up someday. It's right there. It's there now. We know it's the place. You could dig up all the Kavarim. And when we get there, we are automatically, based on every Gemara, I'm sure you know all the sources. Unfortunately, I don't know.
So can I give you a mashal? Can I give a great mashal? This mashal was said by Rosh Feivel Mendelevich.
Go ahead.
Okay, Rosh Feivel Mendelevich. He was such an artist. He was so passionate about Eretz Yisrael. He said that just like if you would go to a zoo and you'd see like a polar bear habitat. And you know right away, like it's just mimicking, like what the zoo's trying to do is like mimic its natural habitat and like stick the polar bear there. But you see, it's not flourishing the way it would in the wild in its natural habitat, right? It's the same thing with Yidden. Like we're here in America, we're here in, me and you, we're here in Baltimore. We live in America, and we're trying to kind of recreate, Jewish life here in Chutz La'aretz. But this is just not our natural habitat. This is not where Jews meant to be. This is not where we truly flourish as individuals and as a Jewish people.
So that's a great mashal. Thank you for sharing that, because I think that's exactly what I'm trying to say. And I think the point is sometimes, at least people who visit Israel or who try to live there, they don't automatically feel necessarily right away connected to that. Like, I think it would be nice if every person that moved to Israel immediately felt like they clicked in like a puzzle piece, like this is where I go and I'm right there and I'm in the place I need to be, and I plug in and everything suddenly gets brighter and opens up. And I reached out to a friend of mine, by the way, recently, and I know he made Aliya, and a lot of people do this. They still have a business in America. They still have some connection. They go back and forth a lot. So it makes the landing a little bit easier when you have an American income, and there's a lot of other things that he was able to keep in his lifestyle that allowed him to make it a little bit easier for himself. But I said to him, Yossi, tell me, why did you move there? Like, what are you passionate about so much that you're able to stay? And I know one of his kids came back and did high school like I did here. There are things that you have to sort of put up with and make work by moving there. But he's my age. And guess what? His parents also grew up in Harnof, or lived in Harnof, and he grew up there like I did. And he also came back, and then he also moved back. So I was trying to tap in, and I was trying to say to him, like, tell me what brought you back? Like, what is it? And, it was interesting. He didn't really want to give me a straight up answer, because he said, it's a very individual type of thing. You have to find in yourself that passion for the connection to a place like Eretz Yisrael in a way that you're going to overcome, but it can't come from anybody else. You have to look inside yourself and say, where do I want to live? Where do I want to raise my kids? Where do I want to connect? Where do I want to put my environment as a Jewish person that I want to be in for the rest of my life? You could almost ask yourself, what am I trying to accomplish in this world, right? Is it enough for me? Meaning some people are going to say to themselves, well, I have a shul here, I have a Beis Medrash here, I learn here, I do everything. So what do I need that for, right? Think about that, right? I think Hashem wants me to sit and learn Gemara in a air-conditioned Beis Medrash in Baltimore, right? Maybe Hashem wants me to persevere and make Eretz Yisrael my home, even if I can't learn Gemara all day. Maybe
Okay, so let me ask you something though. So you feel for you have a passion for Eretz Yisrael, right? You love Eretz Yisrael. Other people may not. Okay, so why is this something that you want to share with the world? Like, why not just okay? You want to live in Eretz Yisrael, great. You feel it's right for your new family, great. Your next door neighbor may not have the same passion. They may feel that they flourish more here in Baltimore. Why is this a message that you want to saying? You said so yourself. Either you feel it or you don't.
okay, so I'll that's an interesting question. If I were to dig deep down, and I know that I personally struggle with this, I feel like a part of me does feel very comfortable here. If we are learning Torah and we are davening and we are living here to be the best Jewish people that we can as Klal Yisrael, then we have to sometimes accept certain things as a reality, whether we agree with it or we feel it or not. That's what I think the truth is that's hard for some people and for myself to accept. That if we're talking about the Meraglim and we're talking about Tisha B'Av and we're talking about Eretz Chemda Tov Rechava, right? How could we say that in our benching every time we bench if we don't necessarily feel that that's real and that's where we want to be, right? Do we really feel this is the Chemda Tov Rechava land, right? So I struggle with that too myself, David. I do. Because I know I left there because I didn't feel so much that connection of the place being Eretz Chemda Tov Rechava. But there's a passion inside me, not because I feel that way, but because I understand that this is what I am saying. And if I'm saying it, then I need to connect it with my feelings and with my belief system, right? Sometimes I really don't feel like learning Gemara. It's true. Some people might, I don't. But I try to push myself every day for at least an hour to sit with my chavrusa and learn it, even when I don't always connect with it, even though when I don't always feel it, because I recognize that there is something powerful happening, something deep happening that I can't always connect with, that I can't always feel. But when I look at everything else in the world, the context clues of what we're here and what we're doing, if I'm going to sit here and do all the other things that Judaism asks from me, right? Do I feel connected when I eat a piece of matzah? Totally. Every time I eat a piece of matzah, or when I shake my lulav, or when I put my tefillin on, or when I daven? David, I don't know. Maybe you do. But most people, when I look around at shul, it doesn't look like they're super connected every time they do it. But they seem to understand that the reality of being Jewish and being part of Klal Yisrael involves davening in a minyan with, their tefillin and their talis. Yes, it makes more sense to be really super nice to my neighbor and not be jealous of other people and not steal and not kill people, not murder people. Those things I can relate to at all times. But why every time I eat something that's fleishik, I have to wait a certain amount of time till it's milchik and not have them together? So I have understandings, but if I did suddenly eat something milchik after fleishik, is something my body going to explode? Am I going to feel like something really detrimental happened? Am I going to get sick? I don't think so. Right? Sometimes people do. They accidentally have milchiks after fleishiks. They forgot. Nothing terrible happened. But when you learn and study and realize that we're in Hashem's world, and this is how he described his world, and this is how he understands how we as a people need to be, then we need to look at everything the same way. We can't look at learning or chesed as those are things that we do because we're here, and then living in his land, which he tells us is the most beautiful place, and we daven and we say that, and then we're not doing it. There's something off.
So is it fair to sum it up? And you can't just your practice of Judaism in a way that's missing Eretz Yisrael. You can't justify your avoda, the way you daven, what you say when you daven, what you say when you bench, what you learn. I'm saying we're in Sefer Devarim right now. It's thing afterwards, in Devarim, but it's Moshe Rabbeinu is begging Hashem, please let me enter Eretz Yisrael, the parsha of the Meraglim, over and over and over again. You can't learn that, right? And then close the book, and then say, yeah, I'm good where I am. I'm good with what I'm doing.
You got it.
It's just
you nailed it.
It's very interesting. When was the last time you were in Eretz Yisrael?
I was there in November for about a month.
And what was your experience like?
It was actually a very good experience. Every time I go recently, I start to connect with this feeling of look around. This place is changing. This place is growing. This place is making itself more and more available and accommodating to people that are coming from all over the world. It's becoming a real modern type of place. It's a real livable place. It's not difficult I mean, even when I moved there, it wasn't that difficult, but now it's got people have heated floors in their bathrooms. There's a lot of luxuries that weren't there before. And to me, again, I still notice that there were things that are kind of not as easily available. And I didn't see right away, that's it, we're going to stay here. I realized that it requires some preparation on my end, both mentally and in terms of finding a job. And obviously people that have chinuch questions, I don't have those, but if people did, that requires some thought out process. But it's amazing to me when I'm there how much I enjoy it. I go for runs out in the woods. The light rail wasn't around when I moved there. There's a ton of, there's way more restaurants and great restaurants that you could go to. There's nicer cars there. All the things, even Gashmias wise.
Although, what about in terms of like on a deeper level?
Okay, so on a deeper level, there is something that feels like home when you land. Okay, everybody knows that. I don't know, maybe people that have never lived there didn't have that, but I had enough living there that there's a warm feeling that comes to you when you're coming to your Jewish nation, your Jewish country. And I think that it just feels like home. That's really, it's not even a description.
Beautiful.
It
Yeah.
feels like you're coming to a place where everybody cares about you, where everybody is like you, where everybody is doing and feeling and has the same passion. Whether, it's interesting, whether you're religious or not, there's something that connects us all when you're there. And that connection is it's like trying to home everybody in, it's like it wants to hold on to you. It wants you to feel like you're in a warm, fuzzy, giant hug from your mother or your father. And I think that should trump everything else, meaning nobody's feeling that when they're in New York or Baltimore or Toronto or LA or Miami, right? When you're here, deep down, I think everybody knows you're a little bit of an outsider. You could even go to different parts of your city and not even expect to see Jews there, right? You're surprised if you see a yarmulke in some parts of your city, And here we go to a place where it's all people like me and you who are really deep down wanting to help others, serve God, learn Torah, and make the most of our life. And how could we not want to be in a place? Listen,
So it's really an incredible thing. It's extraordinary, and you a good chunk of it, right, in Toronto, right? And yet, maybe on the surface level, sure, we're more comfortable here, but in a way, on a deeper level, we feel more at home in a place that really should be foreign to us. It's a strange thing. It's an extraordinary thing. Like, I just think it's a testament to the neshama of a Jewish person and how we're just so connected to the land, to Eretz Yisrael naturally, and to each other. I asked you earlier, why do you think it is that you feel like this is something you want to share with everybody, right? Why is it just not good enough for you to feel like, okay, I feel passionate about it, so this is something that I'll embrace and I'll work on and myself. Why do you feel you have to, spread it to the world? I think this is a phenomenon with Aliya in general. You find it's like people are into Aliya, like it's not good enough for them to make Aliya. Like they want the world to make Aliya, right? I think it comes from is that moving Eretz Yisrael is not about us as individuals, or just not simply about limited to us as individuals going there to be more connected to Hashem as individuals. Part of it is being connected to the Jewish people, becoming a nation. So it's not just about us as individuals. We want Klal Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael. That's what we want. It's not just a personal aspiration, but it's a national aspiration. And that's why we feel like this is something we need to spread to the world. I saw from the Sefer Charedim, he says, Mika Amcha Yisrael go echad baretz, right? So he emphasizes the last three words. Goy echad ba'aretz. We are one nation, ba'aretz. When we're in Eretz Yisrael, that's when we're a nation. That's when we achieve nationhood. And you see it. And you see it with all the conflict and with all the, with all the machlokas that's going on in Eretz Yisrael right now. We are slowly but surely. It's not so slowly. It's a project that's been going on for 75 years, but we are congealing and becoming a nation. I think it's part of why you find there's so much conflict in Eretz Yisrael, because it's like we're coming together. There's all these different disparate pieces. We've been living, in different places, developing different cultures, etc. externally over thousands of years of gullus, and now we're all converging on the same place, and we're not just trying to coexist, right? We're trying to become one body, right? And it's like sometimes someone has a Loleno needs a organ transplant,
Right.
right? And their body's rejecting it, but over here, this is actually natural for us. So that's why it's an incredible thing in when Eretz Yisrael was founded as a country. So, Eretz Yisrael from 1948 to the early 1950s doubled and tripled in size through immigration. Right? In America, we talk about an immigration crisis. What's an immigration crisis? Well, when you have a country of 350 million people, and now you're getting, 1%, you're getting 1 million people coming across the border from Mexico and places that have different cultures, and now it's a crisis. Why is it a crisis? Because you have this American culture, and you have these people that are coming in, and it's just going to wreck everything. Here you have a country with, I don't know, less than 1 million people, and you're doubling in size. And you're not doubling in size from people
500%.
500, not with people coming from the same place. You have Ashkenazi Jews coming from, or more coming from Germany, and they have their culture, and then you have Jews coming from all Arabic countries, right? From Morocco, from Syria, from everywhere else, all converging in the same place. And certainly there was a ton of conflict. But and we're talking about a country that didn't have infrastructure, that didn't have an identity yet. Can you imagine the identity crisis that the country should have? But yet, we're able to make it work, right? No other. It's extraordinary. It never happened in the history of the world, like it's happening. We just did an event recently, and somebody asked about the lack of unity in Eretz Yisrael, and maybe so there's Ashkenazim who don't feel comfortable living with Sephardim, and Dati Lomi, and all these different things, and it's all true. But let's put it into context a little bit, right? The context is, we're a young country, 75 years old, and we've just been growing by leaps and bounds. And we just came together from thousands of years of gullus from all over the planet, with all our different minhagim and cultures and everything, language, right? All different languages, and we converge on this one place, and we're becoming a nation. And so what we're seeing, the conflict that we're seeing, is minuscule compared to in any other circumstance, in any other when you have all these different things coming together.
I would add to what you're saying and say that the conflict is, it's like families, sometimes families have different opinions about things, and they're still family. You come together, but everyone has their own little opinion, but everyone understands in the bigger picture that we're all still family. I once heard that, by the way, the reason why Hashem didn't want people to marry close relatives is because Hashem wants the Jews to bring, this one from here and this one from here, and come together and bring the Jewish people from wherever you came from together. My wife is Yakish and I might be Polish, and it brings the Jewish people into a mix, into a blend of all the different parts of where they're from, of what they have to add, of what their uniqueness is, of who they are, of what they're passionate about. And really, that's exactly what's missing now, I think, is the big piece of North American Jewry, is that Israel, maybe that's even why it's still hard for people who move there, because there isn't that basis. If you move from Russia, maybe there's enough Russians that they're all coming together. You come into the community, it's a very big Russian community. But we still haven't gone to Israel as 1 million people like the Russians did.
Can I tell you something? We as North Americans have a tremendous opportunity to do something that we've never done in the history of the world.
Right.
If you look at Eretz Yisrael, the vast majority of the growth came from people who were expelled
Correct.
or had to leave because of persecution or whatever it was,
We're
right?
the only ones left.
We have from the DP camps, hundreds of thousands, if not of Yidden coming from the DP camps. We have from if you look at the numbers from the from Russia, the Soviet Union, the last number of decades, outpaced North American Aliya by far. And then of course you have you have French Jewry. They're leaving in droves, and you have of course from all the Arabic nations after 1948, they were all expelled. They
Even
went to
probably British and South Africans are more than us, probably percentage wise.
Well, yeah, it's so it's like we have this opportunity to show the Ribbon Shalom, to make such a tremendous Kiddush Hashem, maybe the biggest Kiddush Hashem ever, where we say, yes, we have it great here, we're comfortable here, America's been great to us, but on our own volition, because we want that extra closeness to the Ribbon Shalom, we want to Ratzon Hashem, we're gonna pick up our families and move to Eretz Yisrael, to move
You in it,
to.
David? Are you going? Let me ask you a question, David. I'm going to ask you a very tough question. I don't mean
Yeah,
to
go
be
ahead.
the devil's advocate, but do you
Mhm.
deep down think that 80% of those Jews, if they wouldn't have been expelled and they wouldn't have been forced out and they wouldn't have been pressured, do you think they would have gone to Israel? Do you think they would have left their homes and their comfort? No.
No, for sure not. I'm saying
Right?
you see it,
Right.
right? There's a
Right.
reason that they went from there, not from, like you said, not from North America.
Right. It's on the one hand, it's great that we have so many Jews in Israel, but on the other hand, what I'm pointing out is that unfortunately, I mean, I don't know when or how, but I think we all know that Hashem is
Don't say it.
eventually.
Don't say it.
I won't say it, but I
Don't
want
say
people.
it.
I want people to understand that Hashem doesn't want us here.
Yeah, let's no. This is what we're doing, Yisrael. We're gonna help. We're one of many right now who are trying to inspire people to and their Bosham's inspiring people. Like certainly, I hear about it much more now than I heard about it, and then people spoke about it. 3 years, 4 years. It's gaining steam. It's gaining momentum. It really is. And we're sort of also at a tipping point, like you said, where Eretz Yisrael, the way it is now, isn't the Eretz Yisrael that you grew up in. So it's like, we have like a lot of things working in our favor right now. Number one, people are inspired. I think it's such an interesting phenomenon. Can I tell you something that I thought was extraordinary? Is when you talk to people about Eretz Yisrael and all the reasons they give why it would be difficult to live in Eretz Yisrael, chinuch, parnasa, everything else. I don't think I've heard one person say, I don't want to live in Eretz Yisrael because I'm afraid of terrorism. Because I'm afraid of missiles, flying overhead, which
Almost
seems to happen
everybody
at
knows
least
that
every 6 months.
that's not a reason. If you've
It's
been
just,
there,
but it's
it's not real.
extraordinary because you look at Ukraine. Do you think Ukrainians are who Ukrainians who live in America are like, my country is fighting a war and there's Russian drones, coming into Kiev. I want to go back there. Like, do you know? Like, I don't think
It's
that's a
wild,
thing.
yeah.
I don't think that's a thing. Like us, it's like after October
It's our
7th.
home. It's our home more than any Ukrainian ever feels. When you feel
Yeah.
your home is under attack, you don't run away, you run into your house and you
Yeah.
protect your house.
Yeah.
And I want to bring up a tough subject now that we should really talk about, or we could save for the next podcast, but I'll just mention 2 words, Das Torah, which is a very
okay. Let's
big
save
can
that
of
for
worms.
Yeah, let's save that for next one.
Maybe we can find a
I
rabbit
just
to come
wanna
on our podcast.
yeah. I just want to close with it's Tisha B'Av's coming up. It's this Wednesday night, Thursday. I'll tell you, last Tisha B'Av, I felt extremely disconnected because here we are, we're sitting on the floor and we're crying and we're saying, Hashem, bring Mashiach, bring the Gula. And I thought to myself, it's like, what am I doing? Like there is an element of Geula that I have access to that Rebbe Hashem granted to me right now if I would just get up and take it. Right? So what right do I have? It's so insincere for me and disingenuous for me to sit here and cry. Hashem should bring Mashiach when I'm sitting here in Baltimore, Maryland. Now, it's not to say that there isn't Geula, that there isn't Galus in Eretz Yisrael too. Sure, we don't have a base of Mikdash. There is conflict. There is all these things. So if I'm in Eretz Yisrael, fine, I could cry because I want the next step. But over here, I'm not even taking what's given to me, what I have access to. I'm not. Rosh Hashem gave us a gift. I felt very, very disconnected.
That's how I feel every day.
I feel that way too. By the way, every day I wake up, I walk outside to shul. I'm like, I can't believe I'm still here. I can't believe I'm still here. But but the Mirz Hashem, this what I cry about on Tisha B'av and the 9 days is this mindset that we have. Like Gullus is not just a physical reality; it's also a mindset. It's not just a spiritual reality. It's right. Gullus is in our mind sometimes, and I think that Ribono Shalom, like you look at what's going on today. Almost half, or maybe more than half, of all of Klal Yisrael, which lives in Eretz Yisrael, which is very very significant. For the first time, let this sink in, Yisrael. For the first time, not since Bayis Sheni. A lot of people say it's the first time that half of Klal Yisrael lives in Eretz Yisrael since Bayis Sheni. No, did you know? Fun fact: that half of Klal Yisrael did not live in Eretz Yisrael during
It's not
Bayis
such
Sheni.
a fun fact.
Not such a fun fact. It's the first time since Bayis Rishon that we have half of Klal Yisrael living in Eretz Yisrael. So it's incredible. But the fact that it could be right in front of our faces and we don't see it, it's so sad. It's so sad that we don't see the significance, that we're not jumping for joy and doing everything we can, to just to whatever we can do to pick up and like it's not like we're not turning over every single rock and doing everything we can to get there, to live there, when we have this extraordinary opportunity. Is so sad.
Power of Bechira that Hashem gives us is incredible.
Yeah, it really is. And Mirz Hashem, this Tisha B'av, everybody, we should be inspired. Klal Yisrael should be inspired to do what it takes, to put in the effort, to be doresh, to be truly be doresh Eretz Yisrael, Mirz Hashem.
David, I just want to add one thing at the end of what you said. I just want to ask, just like you told me about myself, I think if we're going to put this out there, and I hope you could edit it in somehow and people could watch it,
Yeah,
I think I'm asking people, don't be afraid to be honest, even if you're not living up to your expectations right now, right? What you're saying right now is that it's not where we want to be. It's not where we should be. So just admit that to yourself. Admit that you really are not where you want to be and where you should be and where Hashem wants us to be. Maybe we're not there now. Maybe we need some time. Maybe we need to figure it out. But don't get accustomed and rationalize and feel like everything's good and just go on your day. Try to connect to that side of you. I hope everyone can find that part of themselves where they could realize that if they're really, really honest with themselves and with their davening and with their learning and with everything that we see everywhere, that Tisha B'av is about being honest with what we can do, not just what we look forward to Hashem doing for us, but what we can and maybe should do. And even if you can't do it, and even if you haven't done it, just be real. Know what the right thing is. Don't fool yourself and make you think that everything you're doing is perfectly right and perfectly fine. It's not where we really want to be. There's a way that we can on our own put effort in, not just Hashem floating Mashiach down and making everything happy and dandy for us. Hashem wants us to put our own effort into.
yeah. And you saw the crying, that we don't cry for the sake of crying, right? We cry so that we could become more real with ourselves, and we could take initiative. That's why we do it.
Let's do
Right.
that.
So yeah, it's Hashem. Tiva Moed. Okay.
Okay. Thanks a lot, David. This was wonderful. Have a good one.